Hey everyone, Mr. MC here. This is a guide for round 3 of the 2023 Manufacturers Cup taking place at Nurburgring Endurance, and this is any Group 3 car. So let's take a look at the race details. So this is a 7-lap race for those in GT1, 3-lap race for those in GT2 and 3 with a 12-minute qualifier, fuels at ×2, tire wear ×4. You can adjust the brake bounds. And we are using the racing hard, intermediate, and wet tires. And you want to really make sure that you have the intermediate and wet tires ready because rain is a possibility for this race. So make sure you have those tires just in case you need them, because it is better to have them and not need them than to need them and not have them. Also, weather radar will be incredibly useful for this race, so you can press the left or the right buttons on your D-pad to adjust the multi-function display on the bottom right hand corner of the screen, and then you can press D up and D down to zoom in or out. Now, because this track is really long, I'm not going to make the lap guide for it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to the strategies, and the way I'm going to go about the strategies is if rain were to never be an issue in your race. So I'll put this disclaimer up just in case someone skips around this video, because I want to make sure that you guys who are watching this video knows that this race can have rain involved, and that could throw any strategy out the window. So you have been warned, rain is a possibility, so make sure you have the racing intermediate and wet tires, because you never know, you just might need them. And before I show the strategy charts, the main difference between the 24-hour layout and the endurance layout is that in the endurance layout, you're only going through half of the GP section. So for example, you're braking as you approach the Gran Turismo banner right now, staying towards the right side of the track, because for this next left turn, you're gonna brake before you reach the 50-meter board. So that's pretty much it in terms of difference between the endurance and the 24-hour layout. In the endurance layout, you're only going through half of the GP section. But here are the strategy charts. This one is for GT2 and 3, and this is a pretty straightforward 0-stop race, and that is if it never rains in your race. Your main goal is to survive, try to stay on the tarmac, qualify well, especially in this track, because good luck trying to overtake at the Nordschleife section. And that's pretty much it. Again, 0-stop race if it doesn't rain in your race. Keep an eye on the weather radar and get ready to adjust your strategy if rain does show up in your race. This race will be around 24 to 30 minutes depending on the overall pace of the lobby. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to skip forward towards the end of lap number 3 just to give you an idea about how tire wear and fuel is looking like for those in GT2 and 3. So here we go, going at the back straight at the Nordschleife section. Fuel, not an issue. Tire wear, not an issue for those in GT2 and 3. So 0-stop race if it doesn't rain at all. Now, I do need to talk about for those in GT1, because in GT1, this is where you will have to make a pit stop for fuel and tires. If you're in GT1, this is a 7-lap race. It's going to be around an hour long, and that's if it doesn't rain. If it does rain, then this race is going to be well over an hour long. If you're in GT1, you will need to use 20% of fuel per lap. I know there are some cars that use way more than 20% per lap, so your strategy will be a bit different. Your main goal is if your car can use 20% of fuel per lap, and that is either by driving normally or doing just a very little bit of fuel saving via short shifting, then your goal is to try to go for 5 laps. However, if your car is atrocious when it comes to fuel, then you want to go for 4 laps before you have to pit in. So for those in GT1, you're pitting either at the end of lap 4 or lap 5, and again, this is if rain hasn't showed up yet. Now, if you're like me and if you're in the Porsche, the way that I'm going about fuel saving, or quote-unquote fuel saving, because I'm not doing much fuel saving, I shift when the bar fills up, and the only exception to this is if I'm going from 5th gear to 6th gear, because 6th gear is not too good with this car, so I rev out 5th gear a bit until I'm reaching around 160 miles per hour, and then I shift up to 6th gear. But for all the other gears, I shift when the bar fills up, or even you can shift just before it fills up. So with this car, it should be pretty easy to make 5 laps of fuel before you have to pit in. You just need to do very little bit of fuel saving. So what I'm going to do, going to skip an over towards the end of lap number 5. Tire wear is starting to creep on in. The car is starting to feel kinda understeery, so I'm starting to lose a bit of time. And in terms of fuel, I have been doing my extremely little fuel saving, so I'm safely going to make it to the pit stop at the end of this lap. And again, if your car is horrendous when it comes to fuel, you'll be pitting at the end of lap number 4. But if you can do a little bit of fuel saving to make it to the end of lap 5, then you can go with that. And I know I've probably mentioned this about 800 times already, this is if rain hasn't showed up in your race yet. Now, I just want to point this out that in this run, I don't take tires. I do not suggest doing that because, yeah, you're spending less time at the pit stop, but you still have pretty cruddy tires, and it's really going to rear its ugly head as the race goes on. In this run, I was able to make the tires last all the way to the end of the race, but it did not feel good, so I will suggest taking tires when you do your pit stop. So after the final turn, just dive all the way to the right side of the track, staying between the white lines of the cone. And yeah, I highly suggest taking tires, unless if you're a tire saving god. But here I'm going to refuel to where the diamond is, as that diamond tells me that if I were to keep driving the way I'm driving, this is the exact amount of fuel I need to be able to finish the race. So that's it. Refuel just a tiny bit past the diamond actually, and I'm out. Again, I highly suggest taking tires unless if you're a tire saving god. So in this race, the pit loss is going to be around 25 to 30 seconds. This will depend on if you take tires and the amount of fuel that you need to put into the car. And yes, I'm going to say again, this is if rain hasn't showed up yet, and I also suggest taking tires unless if you're a tire saving god, because yeah, tire wear, it's gonna be ugly. So I'm going to go ahead and skip on over towards the end of the race. And yeah, this race is a really long one, and this is only if it doesn't rain in your race. Rain is a possibility, so make sure you have your intermediate and wet tires ready. Don't say I didn't warn you about this. But anyways, yeah, the tire wear is pretty horrendous. Yeah, the car is still drivable, but I can't really do much with it anymore, to the point where I think in the final lap I'm already down about 5 seconds. And actually, I think we're crossing into a new sector. Yeah, I'm down about 5 seconds. Yeah, so please take tires if it hasn't rained in your race and you're doing your one pit stop. But hey, this is if rain doesn't show up in your race, because, well, if rain shows up in your race, then all hell is going to break loose, and good luck with that. I mean, I'm going to need good luck as well, because the last thing you want to do is end up spinning around, and yeah, this race is going to be a nightmare. It's going to be a big old survival race, so good luck if you are going to do this race. So if rain never shows up in your race, this is going to be around a 56-minute race. It's such a long race. If rain shows up, it's going to be well over an hour long. So there we go. That's going to be it for this video. And actually, before I go, I do need to mention something. So lately I've been gone again, and the reason for me being gone is because I've been scrambling around because I lost my job. So I'm still scrambling around trying to figure out what in the hell to do. And yeah, a pretty rough time. And do consider supporting the channel because it'll really help me out. I'll also be setting up a Patreon soon if you want to support me through there. I think there's also Ko-Fi. I've heard of that as well. Yeah, I'll be setting up a few things over the next week or two if you want to further support this channel, because it'll really help me out in these times. So that's all for me. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.